Keeney from the future coming to you with a prequel. Just got done editing the series that you're about to watch, and I have some recommendations for you to make it less painful. First, probably play it back at 2 times speed or 2x speed. You might get through it this century, perhaps. Point two, this car was one of the most complex vehicles that I think I have ever done, and it kicked my butt like through and through, kicked my tail. I made two bad calls on this car. I was this close to making three bad calls, but I did only make two bad calls. Those cost me a lot of money because I don't charge customers for parts that don't fix their car when I say they will. The BCM is in a very difficult to access point up under the dash. All the dash bezels and the airbag have to come out to get access to it. That is why there's very little like in-car under dash shots. I can barely fit in there, and the camera certainly won't fit in there with me. There are some jump cuts. I did my best to like segment each little clip to maximize value, and it was still stupid long. I cut a bunch of stuff out. There's a couple, again, jump clips, doing my best to make this process or this story stream well together. In the beginning, there's I don't know if it comes through in the video too much, but there are some redundant checks. I might be testing things a couple times, and that is because almost all of the wiring information was wrong. All the descriptions of circuits was completely wrong. Luckily, the wire colors seem to be correct, and that if there's some confusion on wiring stuff, that's why. Super wrong information there. The symptoms on this car are not the same every time. The main symptom that we start chasing for the current draw, the battery draw, is a one amp to a 5 or 6 amp cycle. Just like every 10 seconds, it just goes through a cycle. When I'm doing fuse voltage drop testing, the voltage drops across the fuses are not always the same, much like the draw is not always the same. It comes and goes throughout the video. The issue will be present, the issue won't be present. Much and in conjunction with the draw being present, the drops on the fuses also throughout the video are not the same. Where I have a constant drop on one fuse at one test, the next test the drop on that fuse is cyclic, like it comes and goes. So it's not even consistent throughout the whole video as far as what's wrong with the actual car or the symptoms that it's presenting, I should say. Be looking out for that. Also, most of the time when I'm unplugging something, generally I'm waiting about 45 minutes to redo that test. There's some jumping around a little bit as far as my approach to the vehicle because I'm trying to find the easiest items to access to test. And once I find what's next easiest to access, that sort of diverts my plan a little bit. But anyway, when I do unplug something, usually I'm waiting like 45 minutes or so between each one of those to do the next test to make sure we didn't miss something. Good luck with this video. I just hope it's helpful for somebody out there. Yeah, it was a disaster though. Have fun. Welcome back, Internet. Today, the world brings us the 2019 Lincoln Nautilus with the V6 turbo whatevers. The story goes, the battery dies within 1 to 2 days of sitting. A brief history. Several weeks ago, the battery died overnight. The engine was jump started the next morning. That morning or that day, when it was jump started, the wipers would only work on high, and the airbag light was illuminated. The owner has very high confidence that the battery was not jumped backwards, so we will give them that credit. It seems that something else may be going on there. The wiper and airbag light issue lasted for a few days. Then everything returned to normal for several days. So wipers worked, no airbag light. I don't think they had a dead battery in any of those days either when the wipers started working and the airbag light went out. Then, occasionally, after those few days, the airbag lamp
would come back on. Not always. And occasionally, the wipers would only work on high. About 1 week ago, the battery died again. The battery was replaced, but all issues are still present now. And that is true. The airbag light is on. The wipers will only work on high. I took it for a test drive last night, and that was the case. I let it sit overnight with a battery charger on it to get it ready for today. There was a brief note, the app that he has connected to his car, the Ford service app, whatever, gave him a notification of battery energy control module issue. And there's a couple codes associated with that, a UO413 and a UO112 in the RCM, which I believe is the restraint control module. There's also a Bravo 10 Alpha Delta and a Bravo 1131 for the wiper motor and range sensor in the steering column control module. I forget how many modules, well, codes too, are on this thing. There was like 30 or 40 modules on this thing, and it had like a bunch of codes from battery voltage, loss of comm, invalid data, for all over the place, which is to be expected. That is what I know. We got to figure out what we're going to do first is the dead battery issue and see if that leads us to the other two issues or resolves those as well. I have no clue if they will or will not. We will find out. Got the pre-inspection done, and we're going to move her back a little bit, open the doors, close the latches, put our key fob in a Faraday bag, because this has the approach light in, so if I just walk up to it, the lights come on without anything. So we'll throw that fob in this old bag while we're doing that testing, and we will get after it. I will get all that prepped. I'll get the code list of everything that showed up for us to review, get a wiring diagram. We'll start doing fuse voltage drop tests. There's one fuse box under the hood. I don't know if it's got another one somewhere else. I sort of suspect that it will. We'll have to find that and go from there. Here is our total list of modules that we pulled from a scan. So we got 36 of them dudes. I'll kind of scroll slow if you're super interested in what's there and what's not. But you can see there's a host of codes and everything. So total of 45 codes. Most of them, this one we do not have a check engine light on, but we reviewed that together with the customer. But most of this is loss of comm stuff, and then the two codes that I mentioned. According to service infos, somewhere in here, we've got 2 and or 3 potential fuse locations. So we've got this one. Can you see the mouse? There's the mouse. So we got this one underneath the hood, which is very obvious. This says up in the upper left, auxiliary junction box. I cannot see anything there. I looked both under the hood and under the passenger kick panel. I didn't see anything major there. The other thing we've got, which service information is terrible about, because it tells you about I don't even remember what it called it. Some sort of power box or whatever, but you can't find anything for it. What it actually is the body computer. Body computer is up here in the upper right, and it lives in a terrible location. So to get to the body computer, we take, oops, you can't see. Why didn't you tell me you can't see? Come on. Take this little lighting panel out, and then service info says it's right there. But let's go for an adventure or field trip, and I will tell you, here's where it is. This is going to be fun. Oh, you still can't see it. Oh, there you can see a little bit of red. That is our body computer with a whole bunch of fuses in it. And that is how much space I have to get to it. Potentially, we could pull the knee airbag out. I don't know if some of these panels over here wouldn't even really help. But we got our fuse box location so far. Those are the codes. We'll get the ammeter hooked up in line with battery, get our Autel set up so we can start doing our voltage drop. Hopefully it's not in that interior fuse box, because that's going to be quite an adventure trying to get a couple arms in there and test leads. But we'll get that set up and get going. All right, this thing has already been an adventure trying to get everything set up, trying to get all like the doors and such open. There's apparently like two switches or something on the tailgate because when I'm sitting in the car with the gate latch closed, the message, like with the key on, the message on the cluster says lift gate ajar. So just ended up closing that one down, but it does not show the hood open. It does not show the driver door open when we just trigger the normal door latch and such. Also on this car, pro tip, if you're doing a battery drain on a modern vehicle with all the fancy electronics, don't lock the car. So we got our key fob in the Faraday bag, so now it's not lighting anything up when we get close to it. You might be able to see through the mesh. There's the lock button. So here, I got the mics in. So nothing. So this is working for sure. But when the car's locked and the doors are open and you lean inside of it, the intrusion sensor goes off and the horn starts talking. So we've got to leave the car unlocked, close all the doors and such. We got our key in here. That should be that. Now that I think we have the configuration of events or things, components in the right order, we should be able to start doing our voltage drop tests. I think. I hope. It's been a little bit of an adventure getting to this point. That's okay. We got it. So doors open, trunk closed, door latch is closed, vehicle unlocked. Walk away with the fob, put it in the bag. Has no detection of this. Let's get the ammeter jammed in there and start testing. We will give credit where credit is due. One of the few things that I give very big credit to Ford on is their packaging engineers. They fit everything in here very precisely. It's a little difficult to get my test leads in here. So I'm going to try and wiggle this battery cable up without actually losing connection while I then snake my test lead underneath this clamp so we never lose connection. We've done a key cycle, so we turn the key on, turn the key off, or started the engine, turned it off to make sure we get a normal shutdown, and then we closed all the latches and such, but left the vehicle unlocked. So, okay, that should be in there. We're getting some readings on the multimeter. Now we should be good to pull this cable up off of here gently, so I don't lose all my connections. Ooh. So I don't know if it was my hand pushing on something. I heard something click. We got a beep on the multimeter saying it went pretty high current. Right now we're pulling 6 amps, 7 amps. I'm going to cap this so we're not making contact. 6.4. You see that? What can you see? 6, 5. Of course you can't see nothing. We got the greatest glares. I'll tell you what. I've never been in a place that has better glares than this shop. There you go, 6.5. Looks like it's cycling a little bit. So we're 6.4, 5.3, 4.9, 4.3. So 4.3 back up to a 7.6, 7.9. So 4.3 to 7.9. Let's watch that for a second and see if it repeats. A 4.3 to 7.9. Going down, there's a 4.3. There's a 7.8. We'll watch it one more time. You can already see the meter over there on the left. There's a 4.3. And. Ooh, it's staying at 4.3. Now down to 3.9. All right, the pattern changes a little bit. Oh, nope, there she went back up to 7.6, 7.8. All right, seems like we got a pattern. We will start going and doing our voltage drop. We'll test our normal cables to make sure our meter's working. We got 11.6. That is a little on the low side. We might put a charger on this. Let's just start going down the thing. You already knew what I'm going to do. I'm going to do fuse drops. I don't need to record it. I'll bring it back when I find the fuse, if there's one in this box that has a draw. All right, we have 3 fuses that have a draw on them in this box. The first one is fuse number, I hope I'm looking at this right. Looks like fuse 48. Oh, excuse me, 47. Yeah, looks like fuse 47. This thing keeps beeping because we're getting a real high current draw. So something is certainly cycling. So this first fuse, we've got 0.8 millivolt drop. The second fuse, we've got well, that is way higher than it was. Hang on. There's no drop on this fuse now. Maybe we should have given it a couple more minutes to go back to sleep. But it had been a few minutes. And I've been filming everything else. Okay, this one lost. This one lost current. Here's our third one, 0.9 volts. So we have a 0.9. We had this one previously, but that was a 1.1 earlier, but now it is not. But so currently it looks like we only have 2 drops in this fuse box. We got a 0.9 and a, probably should have brought a light over here. And I don't have a good connection. And well, it's cycling. Is it cycling with, this might be cycling with the number, the amp draw. So 5 amps, 1 millivolt, still 4.5 amps, 1 millivolt. Let's see what happens. 3 amps and a reset. So somewhere around 1 millivolt drop there, somewhere 0.9 there. That is fuse number 43. And we've got the one that's getting kind of noisy. It looks like 47. So let me go to wiring diagram. We'll get some diagram for this one down here and this one over here. See where they lead, see what they got in common, and probably yank them out. I had a misread of this. If we go down here, we can see the third one in is 47 and then 48. I had mistakenly looked at this. This one there, that's a 2-for-1 fuse, much like this one here. So that was my mistake. We're actually looking for fuse 48 and fuse 43. This one here, that blue one. Okay, I have made some progress, and I think we have our next steps. Going through service information was a little bit adventurous on this one. Let me flip this camera around. So recall, I'll do my best to get this on screen. 43, 48 were our fuses. 43, high beam relay right hand. 48, high beam relay left hand. Next, oh, these are all stuck together. Next page, non-OE wiring. We've got fuse 48. We've got fuse 43. High beam relay, high beam relay. Though they go down, there is a splice, supposedly. I didn't see that in the OEM wiring, but this one goes down to left rear lamp assembly. And it ties into the stop signal, apparently. The other side here goes to the right rear lamp assembly for the stop something or other. That caused me to lose a little bit of trust in non-OE. So we pulled the OE, and our OE is much more helpful. By the way, even if you look at both of them, the fuse feeds the high beam relay for each side. The high beams are not on. So the only way we can have voltage drop across those fuses is if we have current passing through the relay. That means, so follow me, pay attention, that means this relay has to be closed. But if that relay is closed, one would almost think the high beam should be on. They are not on. So now that we've covered that, we can look a little further. Obviously, these things are it's the smart headlights, like bunch of LEDs or whatever. They're not normal, just incandescents. To that end, they have all kinds of wires going to them. They've got signals. You can't see. They got signals for all the stuffs, but they also have a LIN bus. I assume the LIN and whatever this is. I assume there's probably a wake up circuit for a LIN that will wake the headlight assembly up. And so I'm going to assume there's probably no LIN wake up signal, and that is why we have no actual high beam coming on. That said, this is left hand. The right hand is pretty similar. Our power comes from body. Oops, can't see, my bad. Every time I flip this camera, the aspect ratio changes, so it screws it up. Body control module feeds our power side to the relay, and it's always grounded. I'm going to assume that if we went to our connector at the junction block, the battery junction block, this thing's going to be hot. And then if that's hot, obviously this is going to be on doing something here. That's where we're going to get our drop. That means if this is hot, we've got a hot signal from our body control module. Now that said, this is where I'm going to try and make a decision based on ease of access. We have two choices. We can turn the fuse box upside down and go for pin 33 and just see if there's power on 33 under the hood, which I'm kind of inclined to do because that body controller is really wedged up in there. Or we can hit pin 11 on the body controller and see if it's putting power out there. I don't know which is going to be easier to access. Probably, the body controller, I'm sure, is integrated with everything on this, probably including wipers, probably including airbag stuff. But nonetheless, we've got the same for the right hand. It's pretty much the same diagram, just for the other side of the car, for the other side of the headlight. But that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to figure out if it's easier to get it there or in there, and we'll see if we got power hitting on that wire, closing those relays up. And then I'll bring it back whenever I figure out whichever one's easier. This is the second time you're going to hear me talk good about a Ford. We're going to go at the fuse box next because obviously it was right in front of me. I just didn't pay attention to it. Our connectors are right here. So we're just going to pop those covers off and go get access to our pins from the body computer. As is usual, more wonderful service information. We are searching connector 103 Bravo and a 1035 Alpha, 1035 Bravo, 135 Alpha. Service information 1035 Bravo, on to there. 1035 Alpha, pointing God knows where, not to here. So apparently these are all wrong. Assuming one of these is Alpha, one of those is Bravo. When we go to service info and we actually look for it by number, this looks a lot like the connector on that we're looking for, 1035 Alpha. The next tab, 1035 Bravo. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to peel those off and figure out which wires these are. Hope you're ready for more adventures. This is what we deal with. 1035B, pin 47. We've got, this is it, 1035B, pin 47, says not used, which is hilarious. But when we go to the actual paperwork, I'm trying to flip through all these papers and hold this phone at the same time. 1035B, 47, not used. But then when you go to the index for the wires, right here, 47, it shows it as being populated. It says control module, powertrain starter, motor control sense. Nothing to do with high beam stuff, but the wire color's the same. We got a brown and violet, and we have a brown and violet on both diagrams. So both are brown and violet for left and right side. We're just going to hope that the description is wrong. I haven't been in there yet. We're going to pin these out kind of like I was doing here. to make sure I have the orientation. Hopefully the wire colors will at least match. If the wire colors match, hopefully we find our pin and find our circuit. All right, to the best of my ability, this is connector alpha, connector Bravo. We've got pin 33, which the description's wrong, but brown and violet's what we're after. The thing I got it hooked on looks like a brown and violet. I think this is the one we want. Let's see if we got power going to it. I don't know what you're going to be able to see. And one of my mics just died. I don't know which one. I don't know if you can hear me. And the batteries are dying on everything, on the whatever. First check. Do we still have our draw? Turn our ammeter back on. Can you see it? We're at 2.4, 3, 4, 5. There's 5. I guess you can see it. Still got a draw. Let's make sure we still got a fuse voltage drop. So fuse, first one, 0.8 millivolts, 0.9 millivolts. Good. And then go back to our other fuse, 0.9 millivolts. All right, we got the same draw, still present. We're going to switch to our scope. Now we're going to go down here to the best of our ability and back probe this brown and violet, I think is what it was. All right, now we got the Phil's probe. We will come back. We're going to pull that out and set it somewhere we're not going to lose it. We will gingerly refind our wire. Got our probe. We will hit our scope lead on it. Oh man, I'm tripping. That back term. We will now switch back to our scope. Aha! 12 volts. There she is. That's it. Okay, now, question. Will it carry current? Is it a for real, what I call a for real voltage? We just didn't have a good back probe. We're going to go to ground here, or ground right there because it's easier. Can you see my test light? Yeah, you can see it. So we're going to touch the Phil's probe. Oh, girl! We got a little bit of variation on the scope. That's it. Well, at least for this step. That means, bring you down where we can see. That means our body computer is telling that relay to stay on. So the next step is hitting up that body control module, which is quite hidden. We'll figure out the best way to get in there. But we are moving on to the body computer. I'm imagining at this point probably going to have a body computer issue. Obviously, we'll have to check all powers and grounds, inputs, cans, stuff like that at the body computer. But the body computer is where we are going next. I lied to you. Before we go to the body computer, we're going to check connector Bravo just to be sure. I want to be 100% because we got a couple things going on this fuse box. I want to make sure we've got consistency. This one, we're after pin 47, which is right towards the end, second end, right next to the gap. Right next to the gap, looks like this one right here. Come on. I had her. I don't know if you can see it. I'm pretty sure you can. I thought I had that set up so that you're in frame. There she is. So can you see 12? No, you can't see it. Dang. And my other mic just died. So I don't know if you can hear me very well or not. We just got that there. Go ahead and see if we got power. We should have power here. As soon as we have good connection there, which we don't have. And then I touch. Boom. That's it. Now we are going to the body computer.
This is replacing an overly long clip that I just deleted. The BCM has 3 main fuses that feed it. One is a 125 amp fuse, 2 are 50 amp fuses, and I was going to get those and yank them and make sure the whole car went to sleep to see if we've got a BCM issue or some other input issue as an attempted isolation. These fuses are not easily accessible, so I didn't do that step, but that's all you missed. Well, this is great. So this vehicle sat overnight with a charger on it, and now it's down to, that looks like 20 milliamps, which sucks. So we are going to reconnect that battery, do a key cycle, start it, and then come back and see if that draw is back again. We reconnected, restarted vehicle, shut off vehicle, reclosed the latch, put the key back in the bag. Now we're sitting here. We'll let this sit for a few minutes. It's not cycling like it did previously either. I don't know if this thing's gone or not. When I started up, the stupid windshield wipers are working normal. I don't know if this thing just went intermittent on us, but I'll let this sit and see. Since it's so steady, I kind of think it's working like it's supposed to now, which is really annoying. But we'll bring back. I'll come back after this thing either goes down or doesn't go down. We'll give it some time. Well, at this point, everything works like it's supposed to. The draw is gone. We have no airbag light on. The windshield wipers work normally. And on the very first time I got it on a test drive, the backup camera would not work. The backup camera now works. So at this point, we're going to do some day-by-day drives on it, just talk to the customer. I'm going to let it idle outside the shop for a while, warm up, shut it off, let it cool down. Try to do a couple drive cycles of this until I can get it to mess up again. I'm guessing we probably got a bad body computer, but we got to get to it and test it. While it's broken, if something shows up after this, I'll bring it back. If not, I guess this is going to be the end of the video because it works. I don't know what else to tell you. Way more condensed version than what I just deleted. The vehicle sat outside for a few days. I drove it around like a day or two and all the issues were fine. So sat it outside, left the meter installed, but left the hood physically open with the hood latch closed. And I would just check it day by day. On the last day that I checked it, which is what you're about to watch, the milliamp draw range was oscillating from like 20 milliamps to 100 milliamps, which is a totally different amperage range or cycle than we had previously seen at all. So an issues there, but not quite the same as what we've been seeing. Got in the car and all of the all of the functions that had not worked right previously were now working right, except for the wipers. So we had no airbag light on, the camera was working, but the wipers only worked on high. When I viewed it with the scan tool and PID data and go to the steering column control module, every single position that the wiper stalk goes into was being detected by the steering column control module, but the physical wipers would not actually move, except that unless the stalk was moved to the high position. Now that it's in the shop and I've got the hood open, I can hear relays clicking every so often. And so that's where this picks up, is getting ready to install the meter again because I drive it in the shop. And then I'm listening to these relays. So we still have an issue. Maybe. There it goes. So one of these relays is clicking down here. So something's going on with this car right now. And if we got a relay clicking, one would assume we've got a draw. And I do not have my meter installed, so we are going to stick our meter in here. Yeah, how we dipped. I blew stupid fuse in this thing. Apparently I shorted it out somewhere. It's only been a couple minutes, so I'm sure we just woke the whole car back up, reconnecting cables and such. So that's just fantastic, great time. Let's try it again and see what our draw is. It'll probably be very high because I think it takes like a half an hour for this thing to go to sleep. Or at 2.8 or whatever. Let me see if I can get it to break again, and then I'll bring it back if it does. All right, we are making progress. It's still broken. We still have our voltage drop across the fuse, and it's actually tied to this weird cycle we got now. So it's like a 10-second cycle or so. Drops down to, tries to go to sleep like it's going to here, and then it bumps up to like, there it goes, 5 amps. And this is a cycle, it just keeps repeating over and over and over. And if we look at this thing over there, this is cyclic with this cycle, or this is time aligned with this cycle as well. So let me get you set up and you'll be able to see what's up. I'm going to go on that high beam fuse. We're at 0.9 millivolts, ignore the minus. We're at 4.2 amps, it's dropping to 3.2 amps. And there, now it should reset. So you can see over there, it also drops when the amperage drops,
the volt drop across the fuse seemed to drop at the same time. At least it did earlier. We'll watch it one more time. There goes 0. Now it's back. All right, so that's coming from the body computer. We know this. At least the control for that fuse is coming from body computer.
Another shorter version. The body computer has two 50-amp fuses that both feed one connector on the BCM, and the BCM also has the single 125-amp fuse that feeds a single wire large pin connector on the body computer as well. I'm going to unplug those two connectors to attempt to test whether our draw is actually originating in the body computer, or if we still have the draw, then that would indicate it's a BCM input issue. To get access to the body computer, the knee airbag has to come out. All the driver's side dash, lower dash stuff has to come out. And the service info says to depower the airbags before you remove the knee airbag. You have to key off, remove like two or three fuses, key on, read the restraint control module and some other module, make sure they do not appear. If they do not appear, then you know you've disconnected the correct fuses, power the car down, disconnect the battery, take everything apart. Now we've got to reconnect the battery to redo our test at the body computer, hoping that the issue stays present throughout this whole process as well.
All right, we have let her set, and we still got our draw. It's still cycling the way it was. Big power wire here, and the two power wires on this connector. I'm going to leave y'all set up on that thing, and I'm going to go try and reach in here and grab these connectors. I'll probably cut this to whenever I get ready to pull it, because it's a bit of a bear to get access to. It is out. What do we have? Ooh, that is quite different. Let's just let this sit here for a while and see if this changes. Now we're down to a quarter amp. All right, well, this thing has been sitting. I've just kind of glanced at it. It does bounce up and back down a little bit, but most of the time it's sitting around 40 milliamps, which is pretty well double what we saw when the car was actually working properly. We've got to go pull the other connector, see if that goes the rest of the way. I was going to go over, I'll go over that stuff in a minute. Let's see if we can't get this other top connector. I got to make sure I'm grabbing the right connector. One at the top, and see what that does. I'll probably edit this one also, cut it out for. So the big fat wire is still unplugged. Now we're going to attempt to unplug the other one. Okay, I've just broken the tab loose. We're going to start unplugging, wiggling. I think it is out. Oh, girl. There it is. We've got to go to that body computer. Here we go again. We got the airbag unplugged or removed from the car, and we cannot get the body controller out to do all our tests. So we're going to break it down a little bit easier. We know last time we pulled two connectors on the body controller. One was a big fat wire. Two was the one that had the two 50-amp fuses going to it. When I got it all, got the airbag out, got the body controller plugged back in, restart the car. We're going to redo our sequence, and because we disconnect the battery again even though we pulled fuses, we also disconnect the battery to disarm the airbag system. Anyway, when I started it up again, everything's working. Windshield wipers are working. One can only imagine that the battery draw is gone. I don't hear any clicking here. I will just go ahead and reconnect that, but apparently I've got to get it to break again. Well, I'm letting that car do its thing, go back to sleep, just looking at the wiper circuit, because the wipers are pretty consistent with having the issue when the draw is present. Body control module controls the relay for the wipers, and this is the battery junction box. So body controller controls relay. Relay comes down and has two legs, this one and this one. And when we move these down, one of those legs goes to the rain sensor, which is one of the auto sensing is one of the intermittent part, or the intermittent wiper function that does not work when the wipers are broken. This other wire goes all the way down to it says left windshield wiper motor. I think there's only one motor because I don't see a right, but that controls power to this. And so that leads me to think if our body controller is the issue, very well possible it will not allow our wipers to work. But I don't yet understand why the wipers work on high, but they don't work on low or intermittent or auto sensing. Check this out. This is exciting. I'm pretty confident we got a bad body control module. When the washer or wiper washer switches in the high speed setting, the windshield wiper motor also receives ground signal directly from the steering column control module, bypassing the logic within the motor module. This fail-safe circuit makes sure they function on high in the event of a LIN failure. To me, that means it bypasses all the BCM inputs for everything else, is what it sounds like to me. But we'll find out for sure. But I think this is a note in the right direction that we've got a bad body computer. The body computer is all plugged in now. And I went and did voltage drops across those fuses. And we've got a few fuses that have draws on them. We've got an audio digital module, which has a 0.3 millivolts, so not very much. We've got a keyless entry, which makes sense. We're going to have a little bit of draw on a keyless entry. We've got a sync module and a radio transceiver at 0.7 millivolts, so not very much. We've got a front controls interface module and gear shift module, which is a little weird. We got 2.1 millivolts on that one. So we'll keep that in mind. That seems to be a little bit high for me. Then F13. Oh, yeah, that's correct. F13, fuse 13, feeds 3 modules. Steering column control module, instrument panel, and gateway module. And it has a drop that cycles 1.4 millivolts to 9 millivolts at approximately the same time we have the meter doing its cycle. So that, I think, is the fuse we're getting ready to yank next. We've got fuse 33, which has some oscillations to audio front control module. It goes between 0 and 3 millivolts. And then we've got F14, which is the battery energy control module. That is 1.9 millivolts. Battery energy control module, probably going to have some draw, whatever. But I'm now mostly interested in fuse 13 that has those other 3 modules on it. Let's go ahead and yank that fuse. All right, you are set up watching that meter. It's doing our normal cycling deal, 5 amps to close to 0 and back around. I said we're going to walk around here and pull fuse 13. All right, we are now getting ready to pull our fuse 13 out. I got a bite on it. It's like a 7.5 amp fuse. It's also a dual fuse. So we're going to yank 2 fuses out at once. So here it is. Out. What do we have on our meter? Oh, look, she's going down. I'll stand here and watch this and see if she drops out any further. There's our draw after sitting for like 45 minutes or so. We're down in the 20 to 30 milliamps. It's well within range. We are also out of time for the work that was done thus far, so we are going to get a little bit more time and then I think start chasing into those other 3 modules and figure out which one of those other 3 modules is actually going to be our issue. Well, you've gotten our approval to keep on trucking with this old girl, and I don't exactly remember where we left off. Something to do with fuse 13 on the body computer. This fuse is one of the three-legged fuses. I assume most of these fuses are all going to be the same. The power comes in on the middle leg. Can't hold it. Power comes in on the middle leg, and then the fused circuits go out on the outer legs. And on the body computer, the innermost leg towards the inside of the module is fuse 12. The outermost leg is fuse 13. This is what's out of it right now. It's when we got rid of our draw. And the fuse 13 is going to feed three modules: cluster, steering column, control module, gateway module. That's what we got, fuse 13, these modules there. And in this case, I checked both aftermarket and factory wiring, both match. So that's an improvement. At this point, we're going to throw this dude back in, and I think we're going to start unplug. Well, we'll get our draw to come back. Hopefully it does. And then we'll start unplugging each one of these three modules individually. I believe the gateway module is the easiest one to get to because we already got the knee airbag out, and it sits behind it. So in case, we're probably going to get the draw, unplug gateway, unplug steering column, unplug cluster, see which one of those correlates with our draw. I got you set up here. Fuse is still out. We can watch that thing. Gonna roll around under here, under the dash, and slide our fuse back in. Here she goes. Fuse is in. Yep, fuse is in. We got a cluster lighting up. We got a 4.5 amp draw that you can see. Look at that, no glare. Dropping down, going up. I don't know if this is going to re-kick off our cyclic draw that we kept seeing. Oh, just heard some relays click. Looks like we may have gotten lucky again. It's been 45 minutes since it's been sitting, and it's back to its loop. So it's dropping down. There's 5 amps. Let's go for a field trip. Up under here. And let's see if we can't get this. There she is. That's our gateway module. That's our second OBD2 connector. Our first OBD connector is right where you can't see because I'm only the greatest filmer ever. Oh, there you go. There's the normal one you plug into, and then behind the airbag, there's that one, and got one connector on the back. Let me get this set back up, and we'll unplug that. All right, you're set back up. I'll run back under here, get a hold of this big old connector on the back of this dude. I can't apparently feel the release tab on. Oh, I think I found it. Oh, it slipped. And come on, girl. That is unplugged. What do we have? We got something different, but about 1 amp. Well, I suppose we are gonna let this sit here for another 45 minutes. The time for module to go to sleep, core and service info is 40 minutes, 40. We'll let this sit for 45 and then come back. All right, it's been about 45, 50 minutes or so. We are sitting right at 50. It's like 50 to 55 milliamps. We'll just call it 50 milliamps for rounding, which is still too high. When the issue is gone, if I recall correctly, we got like 20, 27 milliamps or so. So we still got about 20, 25 milliamps unaccounted for here that I think is too high. I'm going to re-voltage drop that fuse 13 with the gateway unplugged and see if we're still getting a draw across that circuit or if this is coming from somewhere else. This rabbit hole is very deep. We no longer have a voltage drop across fuse 13. So it seems, based on some previous notes, these were all the fuses and the measured voltage drops across those fuses. And we're going to have to go back to this. Fuse 13 had the 1.4 to 9 millivolt drop, which correlated with our oscillating high draw. And so the drain, most confidently, because it's mostly gone now, the drain most confidently is coming from the gateway module powering up. But now we're looking at an input to the gateway module. Something's, I assume, which we'll go through, but I assume we have something that is waking up one of the networks, the CAN networks, or whatever other communication networks go to that gateway, and that gateway's powering up and then consuming all our current. So we have an input problem to the gateway module. I will go back through and recheck the notes that I have, or the fuse noted that I have for voltage drops, and then we'll do a correlation. And now at this point, we're looking for something that's going to equate to hopefully about 20 milliamps, whatever voltage reading we get. And I'm going to go redo this, and I'll let you know what I find. I'd show you this, but like, it's buried up under there. You've already seen. The rabbit hole gets deeper again. There is no more, at least on all the fuses in both the body controller and the central junction box or battery junction box, whatever it is. On all of the fuses that got the open ports on the back where we can do voltage drop, all the draws are gone. All the voltage drops are gone. We've still got a 50 milliamp draw on the battery, and I'm not 100% sure where to go at this point other than our connector for our central gateway module. It looks like this connector has two B pluses, one B minus, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 CAN networks that go to it. I'm just going to run the scope to each one of these individually and see if any activity is on any of these particular pins. I'll bring it back whenever I find that. I'm trying to give you the important pieces. I'm not just dragging you along. This video is going to be obnoxiously long anyway. If you made it this far, you're a trooper. But I'm trying to give you just the pieces that are important. I'm having to drag you through this whole process and just make the video any more boring than it has to be. But this has been a very long rabbit trail that we are going down. It's probably one of the most complex ones I think I've ever come across, and we'll figure it out eventually. But I still hope it's helpful for somebody out there. I just screwed it up. I was down here measuring all these wires and accidentally leaned on the brake pedal. Just woke the whole car up. And so now we're going to wait 45 more minutes. There's our brake pedal. There's our connector that we're testing. And I bumped the stupid pedal. We got our 50 milliamps back after smashing the brake pedal. Now we'll pick up where we left off and start testing those gateway pins. Well, I'm in a slight quandary at the moment. At the connector for the gateway module, we've got two good powers, a good ground, and no activity on any of the other CAN wires that are there. The high side, low side for all 7 networks, nothing. And we still have 50, so it's 51 to 54 milliamps. 51 to 54 milliamps is our present draw. And from, get a nice shot of my mug. So, battery drain check. I think that's forward for you. Battery drain check service info says no factory equipped vehicles should have more than 25 to 50 milliamp draw depending on the vehicle's accessories. Check for current drains on the battery in excess of 25 to 50 milliamps with all accessories off, vehicle at rest 40 minutes, etc. And we were right on that threshold, but we had 27-ish milliamps before, and so I don't know why. I even hit both fuse boxes and as many wires as I could see with a thermal camera. Nothing lights up. And so I don't know where that draw is coming from, and I don't know if it's abnormal or normal. What I'm going to do at this point is plug back in the gateway module. hopefully after another half an hour, 45 minutes, whatever it was, we'll get back to our cyclic, 0 to 5 amp cycle. And if that's the case, then I think I'm going to grab an amp clamp around the ground wire for the gateway module because it's got one ground wire, and also connect the scope to each individual CAN wire and see if we've got one particular network that keeps coming up in sequence with the draw. So actually we'll probably have 2 scope channels because I'll need to do some time alignment to see if one's coming up before the others. I assume when the gateway module gets woken up for whatever reason, its own doing or something else, that it will bias all of the CAN wires. And when you go from 0 to your 2.5 bias, usually that is the wake up signal for everything else on the car or that network in particular. And so we'll need to see probably two CAN networks at a time to see if one leads the other in conjunction with current draw. I will plug that back in, do whatever I got to do to get our oscillating 0 to 5 amp draw back, get the test equipment set up to do that test at the gateway, and I'll bring it back then. All right, gateway has 0 amperage draw. It is just connecting all the other stuff. And we've got, I don't know, like 5 CAN networks that are coming awake. Let me show you. Here we are. The amp clamp is just hooked around this meter because it was around the gateway and had 0 amperage draw. So I hooked it here just to make sure it works. And what we can see, amperage, blue is amperage, and they track with each other. Green is one of the CAN networks. I don't know which one. There's like 5 of them that are active, but boom, CAN activity goes away and then resumes when it shows up. We could probably zoom in a little sooner and see we've got CAN messages. This network doesn't have a whole lot of messages. There you can see it goes. This one doesn't have a whole lot of messages on it. There's some other ones. This might be a medium speed. I think there's a medium speed that went there. But in any case, some of the others have way more data in them, like a whole lot more, but they do the exact same thing. When amperage drops to very low, we have no CAN communication, and then when it picks back up an amperage draw, we get the CAN communication resuming exactly. Our next step is to do a time alignment of all these CAN networks and figure out which one's actually sending the first message, and then look at the modules on that network. Hopefully it's going to be, I don't know, hopefully it's one of the steering column or the cluster, but we'll figure out where that first message is coming from next. Just so you can get an idea of what I'm talking about, we got current, and then I think green's medium speed, and yellow is one of the high speeds. So there it's going to drop out, and there it came back. So we'll pause that, hit back a frame, or 2 frames, or 3, however many I missed. Boom, there it is. And so we're going to zoom in really far here. And when I zoom in really far, we can see that the yellow talked first, and green seems to have responded. And, oops, can't see. And green came alive. It even looks like it's, anyway. So this came first. So this is the same time alignment I'm now going to look through between all the, I think, high speed again, because I think that one's medium speed up there. And we'll look for the leading edge on all these networks and see which one's leading. Now we are finally making some progress. The camera is going to make it look like I can get up in here. I can't really fit up in here, especially like it's tough fitting up in here. But we have a CAN network that will not go to sleep, and I've got it on the scope. Let me show you. All right, just like before, with a great glare, our current is blue. You can already see it over there a little bit. When it drops down, I'm just comparing 2 different networks here. I don't know the exact ones, but yellow never shuts up. Boom, there. So when we get our drop in current, yellow keeps talking all of the other networks that have activity on this gateway that's spun around backwards because the front sides don't actually go through. But all of the other networks, they stop talking momentarily, and this one keeps talking. This specifically is, I think it was pin 18. Can you see this? Green and orange, and 17 gray. Yep. So our high speed 2, high and low, keeps talking. So now I need to figure out what does high speed 2 and fuse 13 have in common. Finally, we might be getting somewhere. These are our two. And it looks like it's either going to be the cluster or the steering column control module. These are the two that never shut up. High speed 2. And they are gray and blue and a green and orange. Those are our two wire colors. If we come to the wiper diagram, we've got a gray and blue, excuse me. We got a green and orange and a gray and blue on pins 3 and 4 of the steering column control module. And these are green and orange, gray and blue. Let's keep tracing them over. And boom, those hit our gateway module. We need to go under and find this connector. We have a 12-pin connector, and there's several connectors on the steering column control module that I see depending on the configuration. But anyway, I don't see a whole lot of 12 pins in there, so I got the cover off, and we will run around here. Got the cover off of her. That right there, oops, that right there looks like a 12 pin. What did I do with my light? Let me grab my light. All right, this is where we got. You can see the gap. It's doing its thing. And while we're doing that, this is the connector I'm getting ready to unplug. I'm pretty sure this is the right one. And I'm going to unplug and now. So we got some ugly looking messages. Oh my goodness. Oh, buddy. Oh my gosh, that was it. The steering column control module. That's pretty much 0 amps. Oh, buddy, let's go back out under the hood. Let's get our meter turned back on, get an actual real measurement. We're down to 240 milliamps. I think that was it. Oh, B dipped. Oh, I'm going to let this run for a while and see if this drops all the way out to something low. This is my happy face. Check this out. Boom. 20 milliamps. An occasional bump. It does the occasional bump like every 5 or 10 minutes or something. 25 milliamps. Yes. Finally. Looks like we need a steering column control module. I am, just to make sure, I'm going to button everything back up a little, temporarily, and I will restart the car, and I will reshut off the car, restall the meter, and then the only thing that I will unplug at that time will be the steering column control module to make sure nothing else is going on, because even though the key's been off and hidden in our Faraday bag, we've been disconnecting a couple things. So we'll do one final check, and I'll bring you back when I get that one. I don't know if it'll be today or tomorrow, but 99% looks like we need a steering column control module at this moment. Okay, final test on the old Lincoln here. We got everything reconnected, battery started up, moved it around, actually moved it over that way just a little bit, shut it back off, closed the door latch, reinstalled the meter, and we've got our pattern still. So let's do this one last test. All right, you can see in the background, we got our actual meter installed. We got an amp clamper on the same wire. We still got the dropout in green when amperage goes down. Yellow is going to be our steering column control module. It doesn't shut up. Greatest glare. There you can see it. That's still our issue. bring this around, set this up in the car, and I don't know if I can get all this in one shot. Probably not, but we will try. Ugh, it's so hard. And somehow in here, let that reset. We're going to wiggle this out. Boom, amperage is tanking. Both cans stopped talking. That's it, right there. And coming back to our meter, I believe last time this sat for like, I don't know, I want to say 5 to 15 minutes, somewhere in there, and then dropped all the way out. I'll let it sit here for another 15 and bring you back with it. Been about 10 minutes. We got no draw. We're back down to the 20 whatever, bouncing 25 milliamps. We will get with the customer and get approval for a steering column control module, throw that thing in there, and hopefully be done with this. And just in case, boom, 26, 22, and that ain't moved neither. Yeah, buddy.
Just a few specific points to note. The steering column control module did have good powers, good ground. It was sending CAN messages and it was sending LIN messages. So just know this at this point in time.
Old module, new module. She is in, she's programmed, all the as-built data written into it. Let us go and retest. Well, get a good look at this face, because this is the wrong call face. It's still broken.